if you really want to have a good time, I ain't gonna lie. Go to Africa. If you really want to enjoy a nightlife, like have fun, go to Africa. Like I went to Guinea. But you could go to any African country. Like, do not get tricked by the whole like the country is full of conservative people who are like super religious and stuff. You will learn there is life, so much energy. You also learn that there's so many young people who are in in Africa. Like I was also impressed and moved by that. The level of young people are they the working ones. They're young. But at the same time, while they're young, there's also a lot of room for people to actually like have enjoyment. So the nightlife is lit.
One plus one, you're giving me attention. I think they're making me pose, and I really need those, and the beat that one by one.
It's another episode of the Pepper Soup Talk Show. My name is Aki. Here are my partners Sekou and Toby. We're just talking about Ghana.
Ghana.
We're just talking about Afrochella.
Oh yeah, Afrochella.
Yeah, we're just talking about Afrochella.
Changed his name to Afrofuture.
Formerly known as Afrofuture now. Sekou was saying his friend just went to Afrofuture, and is now back in Ghana. And we're not gonna mention his friend's name, but
we ain't gonna mention that.
How do you feel about the influx of people going to Ghana?
I think it's amazing, like to see so many people now like, just embracing the culture, right? But again, in particular, because it matters who's coming into Ghana. So it's what's happening now is Ghana is becoming more expensive. You know what I mean? So it's always like when you get so many people now really looking at Ghana as like the way to really have that African experience. And I think it's like economically it's great for Ghana, but you also have to think about it like how that now will increase prices in Ghana, and for African people who kind of see it as their home, like who's really benefiting from this migration. But there is a great migration going on. And Ghana's the one, but it's like we only know Ghana, but I do think there's so many migration going on in terms of like African diasporas, Black. They seem to be this wave now. There's a great interest of people really thinking about going to Africa, living in Africa, doing a lot of things in Africa. So we could kind of talk about.
It's a realistic. It's a realistic goal to have now for people. And it probably, always was, but now because he's seeing it a lot more, and people also see Ghana, Africa as a whole, as more than what you might have seen growing up, which was just poverty on the TV.
10 cents a day, you can
right.
It's a BT commercial.
And Sekou, you weren't gonna give us the memo? Like Sekou pulled up in the suit. He just told me got the hoodie on, I got a crew neck on. You weren't even gonna give us the memo?
That's it. This is the game. It just resembles our personality in a way. Or it's just, at the end of the day, all of us here, podcast is something we love to do, but we also all have things that we do outside of podcast. Like, I'm just literally coming from work. This is work attire. Yeah, that's it.
So you want to share what you do for work?
Yeah. So I'm basically deans of students. So I work with the youth, young elementary school kids. I truly enjoy working with this particular populations because I feel like this is when you really could have that hands-on impact on the kids. And it's challenging, but at the same time, it's also rewarding.
Yeah.
This is a moment like they remember things that what you said to them, like what you do, who's teaching them, and you basically setting that foundations to make sure they're like not only surviving, but like the mindset is making sure they're thriving.
Yeah,
that's the goal. So I personally have very high expectations for my students. Excuses isn't like what they say, a-hole, everyone has them. But it's just really trying to create that opportunity for my students. And I think opportunity doesn't necessarily mean like you have to leave like I did,
right?
Go to privileged neighborhood,
private school,
like private schools and all that to thrive. It was like that for some of us sitting at this table right now. But me sort of being blessed in so many ways, I kind of want to make sure like now we are the one creating the opportunity
for others.
Kids. So 95% of my kids are Black.
Yeah.
Hispanic kids.
So following up on that, not to digress or whatever, I did see you went back to your school in Guinea. You posted up with all your folks, y'all squad deep. How was that experience? And what you got from there?
So if you tuned into the last episode,
right
before the year ended, where there was just three of us talking, that Sekou went back to Guinea. First time in over 10 years.
10 years?
Yep. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been home. What an experience.
Yeah.
What an experience. I don't even know where to start.
Biggest. Well, Toby asked the question.
Just the school stuff.
So my school, right? And I think that was like a defining moment for me. Like, so for someone who's in education here in the state and who been in education for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
Shaping like the young mind, and really pushing like believing that education is the way out. And I think like I don't even know when I went back to my school, like, and this is like where I started. And like I said, it was just, most of these kids don't have it, a lot of things. They don't. Like, my school was in the place where like, it's just not even like a nice road. Everything is like dusty road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these kids walk to school.
I was gonna ask you, did you grow up, no disrespect, were you in like the village, countryside?
Yeah, I would say, basically like the village side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but a little bit, it's becoming more urban now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I was there, it was mainly like still very similar looking village where it's like a rundown.
Yeah. Because I thought you came from the city.
No, it wasn't the city. No. I grew up in an area in Guinea where it's very rural. Rural, not in the capital. It takes 4 hours. It
takes 4 hours to get from the capital.
Hours. Yeah, from the capital.
What's
if you get lucky.
What's it called? What's the area called?
The capital or
no, the where you're from. Where you grew up.
It's called Bouquet. Yeah. It's a region, yeah.
Because I thought you were going to like, for us, if anybody goes back, they're going to like Lagos or something. I thought that's what you were doing. Then I saw the first picture.
Like the equivalent.
You were roughing it.
Oh, yeah. No, I went, it was, I went there, man. I went there. And just to see the kids and see the classrooms and seeing them sitting in this classroom where it's just like, it's, the equipment, I can't even get into the equipment. I could see like, you see the blackboard is just on the wall, like, and seeing that, I was like, damn. Like, why me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did I go from here to be in the state and being educated? Like, when I'm looking at my students here, and I noticed like, in terms of like, they still like, a lot that we also have to make up given the population that I work with.
Right.
But when I see the contrast, when it comes to simple little things like clean desk, like school material, books, like even kids.
What we see as little things, but really is a lot. It's really actually a big thing.
Big, huge things over there.
Yeah.
Like, and so seeing those kids in those environment, but also knowing like they, even though they don't have much, but they like really they hungry.
Yeah.
Like they want to be successful. They still care about learning. And seeing that, so I just think like it was just like a really humbling experience for me.
Yeah.
And it just made me realize like I think he brought home exactly why I do what I do. It just reinforced my purpose. You know, the kids were also like genuinely like happy to see me. And I think like when I told them like I was one of them, I think that was like like a really powerful moment. You could see their whole facial expression change. They couldn't believe
They're like, oh,
it.
he went to this school. Like, he went to this
when
school.
I told him I went to school, it was very powerful for them because they were like, usually people from the state don't even come this far. They don't even come see us. I'm like, why not? I was like literally like, I'm one of you. Like literally, I was one of you.
What are some of the things the kids say, if you remember, once you told them that? Like, what the reaction? They were like, you're lying, or why did you? I don't know.
And then no, they first, like, honestly, you could tell they were like, no way. They were like, no way. Like, you know, I could see the teachers were like, no, you don't even look like, you don't look, they say you don't look Guinean. You know what I mean? But I'm like, no, I was one of you, one of you. And I think I say it, and I told them like, hey, like I went to this school from 1st grade to 4th grade.
Wow.
And then, you know, and I just tell them like, I literally will come. I only have one piece of notebook, and finally that they were like, and the principal stepped in and was like, yeah, he went to this school.
Oh, it's the same principal.
It's not the same principal. Like, you know, he's like the fact that I came back and
You say you met one of your school teachers that were still there.
Yeah, I met one of my school teachers who was still there. She's like, oh yeah, so that.
She remember you?
She does remember me. She remember me.
Yeah, she just don't be forgetting.
Yeah.
Well, you should get a lot of trouble. She's like,
No. I was a nerd. She remember I was a nerd, man. I didn't like all that whooping going on, so I decided to just stay focused.
How did y'all set that up? Like, how did
Yeah, I didn't set up anything. I just decided to show up.
Oh, you just pulled up.
I just pulled up. And I pulled up, and I just think what was great about it is how the principal was willing to have all these kids come out of their class. Like, be like, yo, you have a student here that actually went here. He's from America. Like, he's here to see you and say hello to you guys. I just think like that was they were really like on
that's powerful.
Like inspired by, but also like the ability to stop everything to just like make sure like I say hello to the kids, and it was overwhelming. But at the same time, just the love was the love that I felt in that moment. I don't even know how to describe it in words. Because it's like, you know, sometimes being in education, you could become so unmotivated here.
Disillusioned.
It's challenging. It's hard. Like it has so many issues every single day. You know, education is going through a lot of challenges, especially come out of the pandemics. There's like a lot of there's a lack of enough staff in schools right now. Teachers are like getting different type of job because they exhausted. You know what I mean? So, but for me, like to go home, really where I started as a student, and just seeing how those kids embrace me, it's just like it's a motivation that I need to really remind me of my why. And that was like literally my why.
Now I was gonna say that you had a real Guinea experience, because I know you said off air that you were fetching water for your bath, right? And they were taking light.
Like I said, I just think the little things, the little things that we do take it for granted here. Like, you know, simple thing like electricity. You know, like when I went back to where I was born, like I just realized everything takes so much work.
Yeah.
Like the little basic life thing that we need, waking up to even take a shower.
Yeah.
Like you realize how much work goes into that. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta over here we don't even it's a hot water, cold water, and I love hot water. I don't care if it's summertime. I love hot water. Like if it's summertime, I still take. But I went to Guinea like my first. Okay, basically I got to Guinea, and like my first day, like hour, I got to the place that where I'm staying at. The electricity went out. And I was like, man, this is stuff that it's like 2023. I'm like, this is still happening. You know what I mean?
See, I'm about to learn.
I'm about to learn. So that's when it got to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually in Africa. Because that whole thing, I was still like processing it.
Yeah.
It went out. Got to take out a flashlight.
Yeah.
You know, and you just sit there, act like it's normal. And they're cool with it. I'm saying, when is the power coming back on? I said, do we have a Wi-Fi here?
Yeah.
Asking all these questions. You know, all these people like, no, we ain't got a Wi-Fi here.
So he forgot where you came
he
from.
forgot where he come from. I was like, wait. And they start to really like realize, oh man, this guy's so Americanized.
Yeah.
But I think like just shower. Like you gotta go outside. Fetch the water in a bucket.
How far away was the wall?
It's not. It's right side of the. It's outside. Most of the time is a well.
Gotcha.
And it's outside, but it's like you got to put that in a bucket, and then next thing you know, you got shower. You know, but it just really made me realize the process it takes.
Yeah.
And that was I just think like one of those like moment where I'm like, man, it's just you appreciate little things. Because also like there's so many people that was like making sure like, you know, I was taken care of.
Right.
You know, but I realized in Africa, like everything takes work.
Yeah.
Everything takes work.
Yeah.
Every little things. And everything costs. Everything costs. Over there.
Bribe culture. Was it bribery culture?
The bribery culture too. That's a whole different topic.
Before we get to that topic, I just want to highlight what was the
want you guys jumping on that too. Because I'm not the only one.
What was the interaction with your school teacher when you met her or him? I don't know specific.
She just had she was a shock. Like you could tell she was shocked. She was like, wow, this is you. I remember you. And I'm just like standing there. I'm like, who is this woman? But she remembered me. I think the crazy part about it is my recommendation is one thing I learned. It took me a while to go home. I'll say, like, being here for like over 10 years and thinking about, you realize how much like you have lost the memory of things. Like I was there. Like literally, I was there physically, but mentally I wasn't there. Because I realized like there's so many things that I forgot. Like I forgot people. I forgot people's faces. Like I forgot people, like I forgot places like I grew up with. I forgot the places. So
how old were you when you left there?
I was 10 years old.
10?
Yeah, that's over that's a couple of decades.
Yeah.
Wait, you left
20 years?
10? Wait, so you went there before now?
Yeah, I just went there. Yeah, I just went there before then.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had 10 years, and I was like, that's 20 years gap.
No. I left Guinea when I was 10 years old.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, so it's like leaving the place young.
Yeah.
And then have to go back. You realize how much you have forgotten so many things. But it's like now you have to rely on other people's narrative, trying to refresh that. But the powerful thing about it is that people remember you. And I think people also remember the type of kids I was. Yeah. And I'm glad that I was not a bad kid that was out there disrespecting adult. Yeah. But I think I was also moved by some of the stories that these people were saying about me when I was young. And I just realized like, that this is powerful.
Did you? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. did you feel like a sense of belonging, a sense of home, or a sense of identity, or how was that whole?
That's a serious question. It's a complicated questions, right? Yeah. And I don't know if I don't even know how to answer it in a way that how like I felt. Yeah. You know, because I do think this is one of those things where only if you experience it, you understand it. Yeah, but it's the same conflicting emotion that I had when I'm here in the state. And this idea that you're African, like, but you grew up in America, you also Americanized, you're also Black. You know what I mean? This identity thing, you know, it depends on which one you want to choose. Right. Yeah. So that same emotion about when you're in a space where, like, over here in America is very diverse. You know, we sometimes you were different races. Yeah. So you start thinking of race, you start thinking about class, you start thinking about culture in America. So a lot of the time we constantly go through our mind about this identity, about you know what it means to be African in America, right? But when I went home, like, did I feel like I was at home?
I mean, this ain't no in y'all life fix my life.
I know. Did I feel like I was at home? I felt that I was in a place where, like, this is where I was born. This is where I started. But did I feel connected to the place? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess
was there like this emotional connection to I had to the place? No, I did not even have that emotional connections. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But did I had that sort of like that moment of epiphany, think about like, wow, this is the life that I started at. This is where my life started at. Like, how did I get to this point? Like, some of this, like, I'm thinking about, was I really living in this environment, this type of environment? Was this really my life? Yeah. And if this was my life, like, it was very challenging. Like, if you grew up in that environment,
from your current perspective.
From my current perspective, but like, if you live there, most of the time you just sometimes accept like this is the
it's normal, right?
You don't
but
feel it.
Like, I felt for people around me. I felt for the kids. I felt for my student. I'm just like, there is so much that you don't have, like the basic little things, like clean water, like clean environment. You know, electricity. Electricity is a huge thing. And I'm like, this is unacceptable. That was what's going on. But at the same time, I also have to stop myself and be like,
check your privileges, right?
And check myself and be like, yo, you also have to dive deep into yourself. Is it? Yeah. Go fetch the water. Yeah. Shower. Yeah. Like, talk, like, you know, there's no address where I was. You just have to ask people. You know, my phone, I was completely deprived of my phone. It doesn't work.
No Wi-Fi,
There's no Wi-Fi. And there are phones there. I don't want to make it look like, but I just think it just humanized me more. Yeah. To think like everything is done through human effort. And like stuff that I didn't have to think about.
One thing I just want to highlight of what you're talking about, there's two main points I got from what you just said.
What?
Actually, maybe three. But the first one, there's this saying, I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. Somebody said something like, they didn't know they were poor until other people told them they were poor.
Yeah.
And then the other statement, I think, is like, you know, sometimes simple life is the happiest life.
Right.
And it's just kind of like I guess a conflicting feeling. Like there's better things in the world, but at the same time, the kind of happiness they have is hard to find over here sometimes.
You know what? I almost feel like that. It makes me ask the question because you hear people talk about when you talk about poverty and you talk about being poor versus being broke, for example. like I've heard people say, or I've heard the idea that being poor is a mindset, and it makes me wonder because you're bringing up a good point about some of the kids that you're meeting, some of the people that you're meeting in Guinea who are happy and who are content and probably more content or satisfied than people who have everything material here.
Yeah.
So I feel like that begs the question: were they poor? Those, those like were they poor?
I think again.
What does it really mean?
What was it to be more? But I think this is what I experienced going home. I just experienced genuine love.
Yeah.
I experienced like the genuine, like I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I experienced the genuine, like unconditional, like where you sit at a table where everyone washes their hand and eat together. You know, so it's like you just literally get a sense of like family, sense of like this humanity, this level of humanity. And I think you experience some of this humanity when you are in an environment or places where it's not materialistic. It's like in like where people don't have a lot, right?
Yeah.
People have this tendency of learning to share things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of sharing. Like even everyone is working together. Like you see, if it's a house, you got one person cooking today. You got one person going to the market. You got one person like cleaning the house. You got one. You know what I mean? So everyone is playing a role to achieve. At the end of the day, we all gonna come together and eat in the same pot. That was powerful. That's something I feel that we don't experience here because over here it's just
more individualistic.
It's very individual. It's very like boxy. You have your work box. You have your home box. You have like your social life box, right? But all these boxes are separated. But like in Africa, it's just like this one big box where everyone is like coexisting. And there's just a lot of human interaction that I was just like, it was refreshing to experience that.
So I know there was also another side to it. You got a chance to go out also, right?
Yeah. I got a chance to.
I'm sure people want to know what was that Guinea nightlife like.
Hey,
parties to 8 a.m.
If you really want to have a good time, I ain't gonna lie. Go to Africa. If you really want to enjoy a nightlife, like have fun, go to Africa. Like I went to Guinea. But you could go to any African country. Like, do not get tricked by the whole like the country is full of conservative people who are like super religious and stuff. You will learn there is life, so much energy. You also learn that there's so many young people who are in Africa. Like I was also impressed and moved by that. The level of young people they're the working ones. They're young. But at the same time, while they're young, there's also a lot of room for people to actually like have enjoyment. So the nightlife is lit. It's full of energy. And they over here, there's certain time span. We in Philly right now speaking. By 2 a.m. everything got close. Yo, in Africa, you could party till 8 a.m. You could literally have a good time till 8 a.m. And again, it's like, there's some spot where they play American music. And I think it's kind of cool when they play American music and you kind of stand up and show your American style. You know the lyrics. And I'm saying that all your friends are like, all the Guinean people are kind of going with the vibe, but they don't really know the lyrics. But that's when they start recognizing like, oh God, you American. That was like you become a different type of target. We can talk about that.
Oh man.
So, but I think like the young people there, it's the nightlife is just energy in terms of there's a lot of dance movement going on. There's a lot of dancing going on. So everyone is just dancing. Everyone is just there to have a great time. And it's just this a lot of genuine like energy.
Yeah.
But also like one thing I also realized like how in tune the Guinean people even are like in tune with the music here. Like there are a lot of like young Guinean people who knows like American music. They dance to it.
Question. I know Guinea is French speaking.
Guinea is francophone, so we speak French.
So do they like understand the lyrics or just going with the vibes?
They don't understand the lyrics, I would say, but they love the music. Gotcha. They dance to it. So I was like, it wasn't one of those things where they play the music where everyone was standing.
Yeah.
But like no, they play the hip hop music or they play like Afrobeat. Everyone dance. And there's also like huge influence of Afrobeats in Guinea as well. Yeah. So when we talking about Afro, we talking about Nigerian, Ghanaian.
Ghanaian really Afrobeat.
It's really not. It's really Nigerian. It's really Nigerian.
I feel
Ghana got what's it called? Hip Life.
Hip Life.
Got Hip Life.
Yeah.
But it's some Ghanaian Afrobeat artists, but it's Afrobeat's a Nigerian thing.
But yeah,
but they categorize everything as Afrobeats, even though it's different genres.
I remember
everyone is hip to Afrobeats in Guinea too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there was a moment where I kind of was telling the DJ, I'm like, all right, bro, listen here. I just came back from America. I need to turn down the American music for a little bit. Yeah. Of course, I had to slide him a couple of cash.
Yeah.
I was hearing Afrobeats and Guinean music for the rest of the night. Yeah. But yeah, the nightlife is fun. It's again, it's not, you could just keep having fun till 6 a.m. But it's a lot of young people. A lot of young, like the youth population is, it's amazing. It's amazing, but it just show you this level of energy that I'm like, damn, the energy here is different. It's a different type of energy.
That's real.
It's a different type of energy. Like when they go out, they go out with a purpose. They go out to have a good time, genuine good time. Yeah. Well, you kind of like, it got to the point, I'm like, yo, it's 6 a.m., I'm tired. I don't think I can keep up with these guys. But they just kept dancing and having a good time.
Now we know where Sekou's energy comes from. This dude, when you go out, when Sekou goes out, Sekou just kept going and going and going.
But now
he said he met his I
met my match and I got humble. That's why I just stood up and became a spectator. Yeah. But man, it's go home. Africa's fun.
Biggest takeaways. What were your biggest takeaways from your trip?
My biggest takeaway is my biggest takeaway is really appreciate your journey. Appreciate your journey. Like for me is I literally thought like, man, coming to America, like there's all this like, of course, like barrier that I had to overcome, like, language barrier, cultural barrier, every little, and I thought like, man, life was difficult here. But when I also went back home and I realized how far I have come, it just literally just helped me to see like, what a journey that I've been on, and it kind of helped me to really become the person that I am today.
It must feel like a lifetime ago.
Yeah,
like being given where you came from and where you are now. It must literally feel like a lifetime ago, like another life.
It felt like another life, but it does. But at the same time, I just think like it just humbled me. Yeah, it's humbling to see like to go home and see like I came from a humble beginning in a way where people appreciate little things. Yeah, little things like seeing people and being genuinely happy to see those people. Yeah, that people actually work like like hard work matters. Like it's just like there's work that goes into every little thing.
Yeah.
But and in America, I'm over here complaining about things that I'm just like, yo, oh, I don't have the new iPhone, like or like I need to go get, I need to go, I have my car for 5 years now. Like, oh, let me just like go ahead and respond to that telemarketing app. Like, oh yeah, they got an upgraded Honda app. Like, car for you, go get it. Because in America, like it's like there's this push of things like, and I realized that all this material stuff, man. Honestly, it's important. Like, I still want to live a good life, but at the same time, like, by the way,
that car ad is crazy. I know exactly. Are you talking about the one on the radio?
Yeah, the car ads or
you got bad credit, 400 credit score. It don't matter.
You can get a new car today, but
right now,
yeah, like for me, it just really being, being genuine. Like, be a genuine human being. Right? And coming back now, it's just this. It's really how I want to continue to be. And not look at people or not look at anything first as like from a materialistic point of view.
Right.
Like, I want to connect with you because I know that you will help me achieve my goal and I will be able to make this amount of money. But like, no, Toby, I want to connect with you because I see that Toby's Toby. Like, Toby's is a great person. Toby's a family man. Toby, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, no. But it's like seeing you as who you are as a human being first. And then I want to build this genuine connection with you. And then to then think about, okay, like, all right, this is what Toby can do. Like, So
in other words, Sekou became a little bit more Philly and a little bit less DC.
Yeah. That's a great way to sum it up. Because it's that's a good way. That's a good way to look at it.
Shout out to DC. I love my DC.
No, DC is good though. DC again, it's a blessing to just be part of both worlds.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a blessing.
For sure.
And before we just round up this segment, it feels like the conversation about the ship. Where do you feel most at home?
Oh man, Toby actually knows these questions. Where do I feel most at home? I just want to bring it back home. Where do I feel?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I feel most at home here in the state.
Yeah.
You mean anywhere in the state, Philly, New York, DC?
Just in general.
Just in general, like, I definitely feel more at home in Philly. I just think like, this is really where like I discover myself in a way where I start to really embrace my that independence aspect of myself, where I literally apply for jobs and start working here. This is where I start earning my paycheck and really became more financially independent. So, but also like the city itself, like, I almost been in Philly for 10 years. Like, you see that I spend mostly like, not like adult, like becoming an adult.
Your whole adulthood so far.
Becoming an adult here. So, and those part of your life, they are like very significant as much as they are also significant from where you started. I'm just blessed and lucky to be able to go home after being here for so long and be able to really see like, this is the beginning and this is where you at. And also it helped me to see like, this is where I could possibly be. You know what I mean? Because once you know your start, your current state of mind, it definitely will give you a roadmap to where you want to end up. And I think at this point, I just don't have any sense of confusion or loss. I just have nothing but a sense of confidence, a sense of like be more purposeful. Because if whatever I want to be from this point, I've seen my beginning, and I know where I am now. I'm not like, I know wherever I'm heading, I will get there.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration, man. Podcast or something.
Like, wherever I'm heading, I'm gonna get there because I've seen where I started. So if you haven't taken a moment to really dig deep into your past and understand where you really started, where everything, please take a moment to do that. It's the only way where you will have a great sense of your purpose and where you want to end up in this life.
Man,
that's deep. Let's switch it up. I know you went to Nigeria last year.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
We talk about it here and there. What is your experience?
Yeah.
When you went back to Nigeria, I think you say you went there a handful of times when you're at your grandma's compound and stuff like that.
Yeah. So well, growing up, I'll say I got a more holistic experience because we would go. I mentioned my dad is from Lagos, mom is from Benin State, Benin City, and it's far apart, maybe 6 hours to get from Lagos to Benin. And I remember the first time going from Lagos to Benin, we flew, and the planes were very low to the ground, and I actually just messed that up. What actually happened was we drove through the bushes. And it was actually a very scary thing, and then we ended up flying back, and I just remember like the whole experience the whole thing was a culture shock to me. The driving and the flying was a culture shock.
Yeah.
And so yes, I mean my experience. I mean, we can talk about that, but my experiences growing up, they were more holistic because my grandparents' compound versus Benin. Versus, we saw Abuja, we saw all these different places. My time going back last year was literally the complete opposite of Sekou's experience in Guinea.
Go ahead, man.
We stayed with my uncle.
Yeah.
And my uncle lives in an area called Banana Island. And it's I mean, you might as well have been in like Rodeo Drive or something. My mom at certain points was like, "Man, should we have even stayed here? Like, they're not even gonna want to go back." But it was a great time, and that was a great time, and we got to see went to go see my grandmother also.
What was that like?
Lagos and see my grandmother.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice. I mean, it was nice. It was nice seeing her. It was a little bit emotional, also because it was the first time we had gone back since my father passed away, and so it was so it was also very emotional, especially for my mom too. This is my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I remember back then, I was an athlete, competitive athlete, and I remember being in Surulere and running around for in the summer, getting ready for track season, and so everything kind of looked the same. But I think the perspective I have now, was one that was more. I was excited to be there. I wasn't excited to be there when I first went. When I was younger.
When you were young, you were excited. But why are you excited now? Like, as you sort of, why are you excited to be there now?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't even want to go, right? Like, I wanted to be at home.
You want to be with your friends.
I wanted to play ball in the summer.
Right.
I was playing AAU. Like, that's all I did, right? But, and then it was like a culture shock. I'm not really sure. I'm not really understanding what's going on.
Right.
We're driving through these bushes and stuff. NEPA is taking light. All this, like, it's. So I didn't appreciate the experience.
Right.
In retrospect, I do now when I reflect back on it, but at the time I didn't. But going back now, I have a better perspective on. I've lived a lot more life, and I see things. I see the bigger picture more.
Yep.
And I'm connected to that, right? Like the world is a smaller world. We live in a smaller world now. Nigeria, Guinea, Ghana, all these places don't feel far away. And I think part of that is also the phone, FaceTime, social media. Like it all feels like one big melting pot to me.
Yeah, I would just say that, and I think like it is beautiful to know like the folks from Africa are much more, like I say, do not assume that they don't know a lot about America and stuff like that.
Right.
They very much in tune with the culture. You know what I mean?
But sometimes even know even more.
I also think the social media perceptions, the like, you know, of or like, you know, you're hearing from people about like, yo, I went to Africa, just it's not the same. I just feel like when you go home and you actually experiencing yourself, I just feel like that experience is different. Because I just feel like the energy in Africa is different. The energy, the interaction that you have with people, it's just different. So my recommendation is always like, I'm pushing you to actually experiencing yourself, because you never understand. I don't think people will understand the meaning, like the value, the culture, unless they experience it themselves. I could sit here and tell you, Toby, and you were like, oh wow, that's amazing. But it's more like, I don't know how to describe this. Is you feel it more when you actually do, like, you in it.
So I'll give this analogy. It's like describing a foreign food that you never eaten. You can't tell them what it is.
Yeah,
you actually have to taste it for themselves.
You got to taste it for yourself. So like, I'm like,
you got Chef Toby talking about always thinking about food.
No, thank you, Toby, for perfectly summing up what I was trying to, like, you know, articulate here. But I think that's really one thing I want to also like add to what you were saying. It's a different type of experience.
Yeah. With that being said, you did say, you know, you have a better appreciation when you were younger versus now.
Well, I had a better appreciation now.
When I was younger. Now than when you were younger. And then one thing, at least this might not be true for you, but my perspective, I saw a lot growing up. A lot of, you know, I guess first gen African folks, either born here or from home, they don't really, they try to shy away from their culture, you know, or they try to claim they're not African, especially if they look a little bit more American. And I'm like, what you gonna do? Like, you look African, like, you still got an accent. You just came from Nigeria 3 months ago. Like, do you think your appreciation, is it solely because you lived more life? Or did you grow in your identity as an African living in America?
Both. Definitely both. I mean, growing up, and I think it's part of the conversation we had last time we were talking, which was around, as you grow in your identity and you become more comfortable and more you own who you are more, and the parts of you that may be different than other people, then that's something that you're able to carry forward with pride. Whereas when I was growing up, I didn't grow up around a lot of African people. I mean, there maybe some here and there, but even again, like you said, it was like number one, it wasn't cool to be African back then. I remember I used to get made fun of all the time for my name. You know, people ask me if I live in huts and things like that. Every time, I always knew when the teacher was gonna call my name in class. Like the first day of class, I always knew when they had gotten to my name because they'd always pause. And so I was always, you know, one or two. Usually the only African in my class when I think about it now. But so it was definitely something that I wasn't fully I didn't fully embrace, if I'm being honest, when I was very young. And also I remember I was encouraged to be more American. I remember I remember when I would go to I remember going to a grocery store one time, and someone asked me I remember a cashier asked me where I was from, and maybe they say my name, asked me where I was from. And I remember times when I say I'm Nigerian, right? And I was actually told, whether I don't know, it was my mom, my aunt, who I was with, would they say, no, tell me you're American. and then because you don't want them to think you're 419 and all this.
419 is fraud.
So,
for people.
yeah. So there's so much that you just hear growing up. You're not really understanding anything, but I didn't fully start embracing the. It was slow. I think it was not even like there was no real turning point. There was no real turning point. I think it was just
progression.
Right. It was really just a progression through high school, through college, after college. It's just been a progression. And
man, that's kind of interesting because I know I'm not sure if it's Nigerian culture in a whole or throughout culture, but where you're from is not where you're born, is where your blood is. I'm kind of surprised they say they try to be more American. At least for me, they're like, regardless where you're from, you're always Nigerian. Your children will be Nigerian because that's your blood. That ain't where you're from. So that was kind of surprising. I know for my folks, they're like, if it's 10 generations, you're still Nigerian.
Right.
Last name. Right. And if, like we were discussing this before, if anybody wants to find out your family history, you know exactly the origin of your family. You can trace it just by word of mouth. This is where y'all from. This is
I think part of it too was also it was the aspect of it around navigating being in America. Because I mentioned last time how I was put in English in ESL. Being born and raised here, I was put in ESL. So it's things like this where if you're telling someone you're Nigerian, it's like,
Yeah, so
that's part of it.
Right, but I also think again, I want to go back to your point about when you were young, there's encouragement to be more American, but we also have to forget when you actually identify yourself or people really identify you as an American, it also it comes with some sort of privilege badge. Yeah. I think it's a privilege,
like an emblem.
But it's a privilege. It comes with it's like a privilege thing, I want to talk about that because when they see you as an American,
who's they? Americans?
I think the people in Guinea. I'm just speaking from my experience. Right?
I thought you were talking about.
I think then it kind of puts you in almost in a different class. It's almost like a privilege. People now starting to really interact with you differently, but they start to see you differently, right? An example of that is I went to the market. You know what I mean? And the guy quickly found out oh yeah, you're not from here. I said, no, I'm actually, and I felt some type of way when people were telling me yo, you're not, I'm like, listen, I was born here, all right? So we're not hearing that. But then he said, no, you're American. Because the guy that I was with, he said, yeah, this guy's American. And all of a sudden, this guy is emptying up the price. The price goes up. You know what I mean? So the price increases on you.
Immigration taxes.
Exactly. So it's yo, all of a sudden, everybody start charging you a little extra.
Yeah.
So I'm just all right, come on now. But I just also wanted to highlight that because you notice is once everyone give you this, you seen as this oh, you American or you from America, it's almost like people are a lot more sort of thinking you have some level of financial power.
Yeah.
And this is the perspective of him being in Nigeria, not him being here, correct?
This is this is a professor of, but what I'm saying in America, when you in Africa,
and they see you as an American.
They see you as an Africa, right?
I just want to make sure.
But I wanted to highlight that though, because I wanted to add on to that part where you might be encouraged to identify yourself as an American that way, because there's no questioning in that matter, whether you have money or not. Or you could go into places where they know, you go into a hotel, for example. I remember go to a hotel, they see that they see the passport, or they see the ID, or they see your card, literally. They just literally now either thinking about increasing the price, or they literally want to accommodate to you.
Yeah.
So it's sense of a privilege that I just think sometimes we don't.
It's almost like a class thing.
It's a class thing. That's what I'm just saying. But let's not forget that.
Yeah, that definitely is a thing. But I thought You were talking about being here.
Yeah, I was talking about being here. Yeah, I was talking about being here.
Identified as an American.
Yeah.
But also, I was also talking about when you were back home and somebody was telling you to identify as what? When you were young?
When I was Nigerian.
When you were
I was back
Nigerian.
home. Yeah.
So I just think that's also important because there's also this thing about when you go home, like people tell you like, don't dress American, don't speak English. I was advised not to do that.
Oh, back there.
Home,
Oh, yeah.
I was advised not to do that. And the reason for that is because once people recognize you from America, they're expecting things from you.
Yeah.
Even though you don't, most of us out here try to survive. And some people felt like, man, now I have to assume this privilege of trying to, now people coming to you and telling you all their issues and things and promises. And you like, you know, like, no, I'm not there yet.
Have you been back since you came?
No, I haven't been back.
Do you plan to go?
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be a lot more prep. You know, the whole family now.
Yeah,
won't be as mobile.
Right.
But yeah, still have some cousins and all them back there. But
okay.
Yeah, it'll take more planning.
Yeah.
But I'll pose this question to you also. Where do you feel most at home? What do you consider home?
Yeah, I consider home.
I know you rep New York hard.
Yeah. New Rochelle specifically, 914. Philly. Philly definitely said this before, which is that whenever I'm coming back here, I'm always happy. Like I'm always happy to come back here.
Yeah.
I'm always happy even to end the trip. And when if I'm somewhere for an extended period of time, I get to a point where I'm like, I'm just ready to go back. I'm just ready to go come back here. Or when I'm on 30th Street station and I'm coming up the escalator or down the escalator, I can't remember which one it is, and it says "Welcome to Philadelphia."
Yeah.
I was like,
the sign look a little scratchy, but we gotta fix that up.
I'm always ready to come back here.
You're Philly,
and I feel grateful to feel a sense of home here.
Yeah.
I feel very grateful to feel a sense of home here, and I know a lot of people don't even have that. I think for being here, for some of the points that you made after being here for so long, we've been here for over 10 years now.
Yeah, and
we've been here for 10 years.
Yeah,
we haven't lived in 10 different places. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate having and being able to see Philly as my home base,
right?
Regardless of wherever I go from. From here.
But also, like, don't forget, like, you realize how much you have changed within like a time span of like 10 years. You know, and then you don't know how much you have changed until you like put yourself again.
Yeah.
Like going home for Toby, for example, and you start to realize, I'm in America, I identify myself as African, like Guinean, like, but then once you go back home, you realize like, wow, like it's you 10 years, you personally gone through a lot of changes. And don't expect like it's gonna be all like I'm back home.
Right.
Everything's gonna like feel so quickly. It's gonna be an adjustment.
You know, when you ask that question about where you feel most at home, I was thinking about Kanye West said he wasn't living in a house. Like he had I think he had sold his house, and so he wasn't living in a house. Like he was living in hotels and he was living in like stadiums and stuff. He was like, home is when I'm on the phone with my daughter. I just remember thinking that was funny and kind of dope, to be honest. But but I feel like home is where you feel most at peace, right?
Yeah. So it actually brings to my second question. You know, it's not a setup, but this is my second question since y'all identify what home is. In terms of the cultural difference here back home, and I guess living in different states for both of y'all. In terms of a family life, what you're looking for that type of person to settle down with. What qualities of quote unquote home to look for those people or person in order to feel like, oh, this is the type of person I will settle with that merges this specific values. These different cultures that I do have.
I'll go first. I think the biggest thing for me, and you actually touched upon this a little bit with what you experienced in Guinea, and this is what I experienced a lot growing up that I always really just always really resonated with. That wasn't very American. It was just the communal aspect. Yeah. Growing up, there was always people at my house. Yep. I grew up knowing, having a lot of cousins that I technically wasn't related to. Right. And to the point where I didn't even know till I was a lot older, certain people who I'm very close with that I know as cousins that I didn't even know they weren't my cousins. Dang. Same thing with uncles, same thing with aunties. I've always really liked that about our culture, and that's something that is important to me. Like that value is important to me of family and people who may not even necessarily be blood related to you, but them being considered family. And so I think that aspect is probably the biggest thing. And then but apart from that, I guess it's you asked about culture specifically, right?
Not necessarily culture, but values. And it can be culture also, but maybe like these are some of the boundaries or parameters I feel will connect and makes the most successful union. Your background.
Toby wants to know if you gonna go and marry Nigeria. Anaja woman, or you gonna go with Ghana, or you gonna go to Guinea too, or you gonna come out and get the sisters.
Listen, man, love is love, man. Love is love. I keep
just giving political answers, which is the right answer. Yeah, because you never know, right? Yep.
Is that your final answer, or?
Yeah, the final answer.
He's like he doesn't want to mess up any opportunities out there.
No, I mean I say like no. I think it's about for me. It's about the connection, right? It's about the connection. I feel like, and Toby, you're married, and so you probably able to speak on certain things more being as like a married person. When I speak on things, it's all theoretical, right? But I feel like core values are very important. Yeah. And because people's values can change over the course of your life. You might focus on certain things more at certain stages of your life. You might prioritize things differently. But I feel like we all have certain core values that stay with us throughout. Right. And so when I think about dating, when I think about a partnership, like romantically or building a family and all of that, the core values are big to me.
And your core values are?
Family is big. Yeah. Family is probably the biggest one. Freedom.
Define freedom.
Freedom in every sense of the word. So freedom when it comes to like mobility. When it comes to
like to travel, or
the ability to travel. It's like so it's like mobility in the sense of like travel, being in multiple places. Gotcha. and being able to be or go to multiple places, and someone who would be comfortable with that, and may also like that for herself as well. Whether it's traveling, whether it's extended periods of time. So freedom, in that sense, time freedom, financial freedom. Something I think I've learned in the last 3 to 5 years is like freedom is like a huge value of mine. Yeah. I say family and freedom are probably the two biggest things.
It's cool. That's it. Yeah.
I say, and then also some, you gotta have like when it comes to like your spiritual beliefs. Yeah. Like I don't think I could date an atheist.
Right. I know that's valid.
Yeah.
Let me be correct. You're Christian, right?
I'm Christian.
Okay.
I'm Christian.
I know Nigerians 50-50. Would you ever date a married Muslim, or?
I would. Like I would.
You will?
I would date a Muslim. I would date a Muslim. I would date a Muslim. I would say though that I feel like it can make things a little more complicated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, I appreciate convenience, you know what I'm saying, but I'm open to other religions, other like dating people from other religions.
Right, but you don't think religion would not be like a non-negotiable for you,
right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We just gotta be on the same page around like what do you envision, as far as like the life that you want to build. Like, you know, what does being married mean to you? What, you know, when you have kids, like how we gotta have all the hard, I guess, questions, right? Ultimately gotta tackle.
True. Yeah.
Sekou, you up?
Yeah, I'm up. I mean, yeah, it's building on to what it's tough to build on that, you know.
What's your core values?
Yo, my core values, man. Core values. I'm really like, first, I'm really big on like responsibility.
Yeah.
Like personal responsibility. Let's just start with that first. So like, for me, I gotta look at someone that I'd be like, this is an individual, a responsible individual, like in the way that they understand what their responsibility are. They also understand like they're also responsible to themselves. To really like being independent in a way that they have this sort of mindset where like it's not just about like, oh, like I need to depend on other people and do this in order for me to get what I want. But they understand like, yo, in order for me to actually be successful, I'm responsible for my own success. You know, I'm responsible for chasing like my goals. I'm responsible for like making sure like this is a person that I want to be with. And this is a person that I'm going to be responsible for. You know, so someone who's really have a clear sense of like what is just a responsible human being.
Yeah.
Because that's important to me, because I know like for me is that those are like core values that I had to learn earlier, but it also like not feeling like I have to depend on other people. You know, there's this sense like, you know, coming from like where I'm coming from, of course there's this sense like the family provide for you. But once I came to America, like most of the time, like I had to kind of like really become responsible quickly. And this was key to like me knowing how I could like thrive in this world.
Yeah.
How I could be successful in this world. It wasn't like, oh, English is not your first language. Like, you know, go ahead and that's going to be a thing where an excuse that I'm going to make for myself. Like, I'm like, no, like I gotta learn English quickly.
Yeah.
And I gotta learn to really find out how I could quickly adapt to my new environment. So like I could like be successful. So I realized like it's not gonna take you, or it's not gonna take Toby you to help me get there. It's gonna take me right now, going into that gear of like, yo, it's my responsibility to quickly grow up and survive in this world. I couldn't depend too much on my dad.
Yeah.
Couldn't depend too much on my mom. When financially, we didn't have a lot of money. Got 11 siblings. So financially, I already knew like, hey, I can't wait to start working so I could like financially support myself. And of course, like I've been blessed in so many other ways. But to me, responsibility is the first thing, because growing up in America, coming from basically nothing, I need to be with somebody who have that same sense of like mindset, or like understanding like, yo, we live in America, but like, yo, we're responsible for our own success.
Yeah.
And who's just literally like grind that way, you know, and operate that way. And then the other part, like Aki, is also like, I need to be with someone who's family oriented, like who value family. Like, you know, I'm blessed to grow up with mom and dad. Grew up in a household with all my siblings. So this sense of family is, and I just know like it's a central part of like who I am, who make up who I am. And I also been blessed with additional family. here in America.
You got some kids?
No, I ain't got. Not yet.
There was one picture Sekou sent when he when we were in Guinea.
Yeah,
he keeps calling me dad.
You know I love, but y'all know I love kids. You know,
he looked just like you said too, right?
Yeah, the kid looks just like me, which was funny. I say God is really sending a message to me right now. But I love kids and stuff like that. But yeah, I need somebody who's really family oriented, value family. Family is everything, man. The beautiful thing about that we have here in America, like I think sometimes we overlook, is like we get to pick who we want to be.
Yeah.
With I would say back home, like you could quickly get caught up with. Sometimes it's like it's chosen for you. And sometimes you gotta honor those culture. Like you gotta honor me because it's part of like the cultural fabric and who you are. But here in America, I think it's a blessing that we could still choose. But I still want to pick somebody that's really embrace and love my culture. Yeah. Love who I am. Like is very open-minded. Like I can't marry somebody that I take back home to Africa. I'm like, yo, yeah, we about to get on this dusty road. Yeah. You over here, like getting out of the car and walk. I see, like, like now I have to. No, I want to be with somebody who love and embrace who I am as a person that is curious to figure out like where I was going. But I also want to be with somebody who have had this experience of really be on their own, going through their own personal struggle. And coming out of that because that is someone that I feel like I want to be with someone I see myself. And I just think that is so important because through the good and the bad, because there are going to be a lot of bad moments. Yeah. But then I want to be able to be like, that's me right there. That's me. That's you. Like that. You see yourself in that person. Yeah. And I just think that is really what is going to continue to really make me feel like I'm part of this person for life. Yeah. So I'm looking for that. So you asking me why I waited for so long. That's why. And it's okay. He didn't ask that. He didn't ask that. Sometimes I'm reading this journey where there's this pressure like, oh, you get into this age, you need to get married. Oh, especially in African culture, like you're talking about. I wasn't pressured. You were pressured. None of us are pressured. Again, let's take a moment to understand that that itself is a privilege. Yeah. But I just think at the end of the day, like it's important to really think a lot about the person that you want to be with. Look at their personal quality. Yeah. And then before you start really thinking more about like this cultural lens that you have, because it's a little personal quality about that person that you realize that's going to make the cultural non-negotiable or religious non-negotiable that you have that could make those things easier. So I think for me, I'm just looking more into like that person as a human being first. Yeah. Before I start to add in these other external values that I have. Yeah.
It's a question for Toby. Turn it around on him.
Turn around to you because Toby's on the other side.
So being a married man, Toby.
Being a married man.
How long have you been married now?
What, like a year?
Been about 2 years? 2 years now?
2 years in like May. But yeah.
In like May? Is that
First, go ahead.
One question I wanted to ask was, so having been married for some time now, when you think about what you thought marriage would be like versus what it is like, how does it compare? Is it what you thought it would be like? And if so, like how and if not, how?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'll answer the questions I asked y'all, and then I'll move into that segment. So before, you know, we even got married, some of my core beliefs was God, purpose, family.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah.
And non-negotiable, they have to be Christian.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no offense or nothing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of intricacies that comes in different religions, different plays, ceremonies, you know, on the Muslim side and the Christian side. But people need to know, at least I'm going to speak from my side, you know, know God, actually know what the Bible is talking about. Everybody claims something, but they don't know like the depth and the actual intricacies of the religion. And that kind of influence, you know, what you do in life. And I think knowing God helps you know your purpose, because you know the Creator creates you for a purpose, and you need to understand that in order to live in your purpose. So that's why, you know God, non-negotiable Christian, and then it falls into your purpose. Know your purpose, what you want, or a sense of it. You know, sometimes you can't fully say this is what I'm doing, this is what I call, but you can tell some aspects of a personality that they kind of move it into it. They're very intentional, deliberate, and some things is, you know, a little bit different. And then lastly, family. You know, how's your family life like? What do you want your family to be? Everybody has some kind of family dynamic. Some things you won't take on within your new family, and some things you like to incorporate it in your own families. And these kind of things I kind of talked to at length with my wife before we got married. Like, you know, why do you think that way? Why do I think that way? Is that good? Is that positive? What are some of your life experiences that give you that outlook? Again, she was like 12 when she came here, and I was like 4. So she has more of a Nigerian, I guess, mentality more than I do. And just there's also a cultural difference depending on how long you've been here versus your other partner. So trying to understand the interworkings of other people's mind, and making sure, you know, our purposes line together, and you know the marriage is within God's purpose also, which is a very strong thing you have to make sure you do before even considering marriage.
Toby dropping jam.
Pastor
Yo, let's go, Toby. Let's go. But go ahead, bro. Keep going. We're listening.
But yeah, so once you lay that foundation, of course, there's always some risk in getting married. I'll say risk, and there's always uncertainty, because marriages are just continuing life with another person. So you can't always lay everything down as planned. You know, at your age, you know your own life experiences. You know how you reacted to anything, but you're not always going to know how your partner will react when those same challenges come together. And just being able to understand, you know, play on each other's strengths. And also you can cover for each other's weaknesses, which is something you have to understand. Nobody's perfect. And, you know, if you want to make a perfect person, you know, you have to ask God or something to create a whole other person, which is not realistic. But that just, you know, give grace as God gives grace to everybody in the world in order to, you know, survive this life together. And so again, we talk thoroughly. Make sure we're aligned, where we're disaligned. And of course, some things, just personality difference, and then we make it work. So when you talked about how I expected marriage to be and how it actually is everything I expected it to be. Of course, I don't have, I don't have no fairy tale imagination of this is the movies, or this is how it's gonna be. But you know, like I was saying, allowing that grace for the other person to be who they be, in order you can incorporate, you know, a healthy relationship. And of course, a lot of things we try to talk through before planning, before doing anything. Is this your core belief doesn't align with mine? And you know, the period of where we're dating, some of my beliefs, well, not beliefs, or perspectives, you know, kind of swayed. Some of hers kind of swayed, and just going through that dating phase, and I guess a little bit of life together, get builds another understanding. And again, instead of being reactive, you have to understand, you know, why the person do what they do. You spend, I guess for us, like 30 plus or 30-ish years alone, well, quote unquote alone, and the other person, how many ever years they had lived in life. So one thing my sister told me, the amount of time I guess you spent single, that's the amount of time you have to give the person grace in order to understand. Because
that's a bar right there.
Because that's how much,
that's a bar right there.
That's how much time it took for you to grow your personality. You take the same amount of time to build a personality and a union together.
Yeah. Wise. That's deep. That's deep.
Let's let that breathe for a second.
I can't.
Let's let that breathe for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, let's make sure Keith get his moments.
Yeah, no, that was good, man. That was good, man. That was good, man. That was good.
That was
some wise words right there.
Well said, brother. Thank you. And it was thank you for being vulnerable too. And really communicating that with us. Yeah. Because we kind of like on this other side of the table,
the fence,
and we kind of going towards where you at. So it's nice to.
Well, speak for yourself right now. I didn't say that.
I can't stop playing with you, bro. Stop playing.
I did not say that, but I just said I'm thinking.
Toby's waiting on us on the other side. Yeah.
No, it's
but yeah, it's great.
Now, I appreciate the questions also because we did have a request to talk about some of these other topics, in our personal lives, and so to those who have sent in their requests and have asked about us covering other topics. Mm-hmm. Definitely give us your feedback.
Absolutely.
We're trying here to be vulnerable, right, and transparent,
right.
So,
and sometimes we just take these moments as a host, a podcast host, just to also learn a lot about each other. Yeah. And you can see this is a safe space, and I just think as 3 African men sitting at a table, really trying to really navigate. We like navigating this life. Yeah. But I just love that we all 3 of us at a table right now, knowing how much I could learn from Toby. Yeah. How much I could learn from Aki experience. Yeah. So we got to keep having these type of conversation, man, because it's so much that we could still learn from each other and about each other. For sure. And if we're gonna bring people on the show, who we want to be vulnerable, I think that we also need to continue to be vulnerable first. So
definitely. Yeah. Well, this has been Pepper Soup Talks.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time.